Yo guys, what is good? It's your boy VGOK here. I hope you're all doing absolutely amazing and are trading safely in the markets. Welcome back to another video, and today I'm going to be going over a full trade breakdown of a Gbpjpy sell scenario that was actually executed on the 7th of July within New York session that achieved a 1:19 risk to reward ratio. So jumping straight into the before and after screenshots. Now what we can see here on this screen right here is the before screenshot, and my main point of interest, which is this higher top purple box, was actually based on a 15-minute drop-based drop candlestick formation, which I'm going to be showing you guys in just a second. So that was based on the 15-minute point of interest. We also had this build-up of liquidity, this trendline liquidity build-up during this London session, which we'll go into a bit more detail later on. But again, we're just watching how price reacts into this zone, into this area. We see that it's making a series of higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs, higher lows, higher highs. And then we get the positive movement away from our zone, which we're always looking for. So that was the positive reaction I wanted to see from the zone, which then gave me, validity to go for these sells. So I had my entry right here on the 5-minute at this drop, base, drop formation. You can see that there's a redistribution of price happening right in here, and that was where I based my my sell entry on. So having my sell entry right there, just having my stop loss just at the high right there in the supply zone, and then we'll go over to the after screenshot, and what we can see here, this is on the 15-minute chart now, and what you can see here is, on the 15-minute, you can see the clear buy before sell candle, which we're looking to target, and there was basically the 15-minute imbalance fill, which is where the entry was. Entry just again at that high, and then taking profit. My TP point was at 150.75, hitting that 1:19 risk to reward ratio, and the actual take profit point was actually based on a 4-hour imbalance fill, which I'm going to go over in a lot more detail right now. So jumping straight into the actual analysis of this trade breakdown, I'm going to be starting on the 4-hour time frame, and what we can see right here is what I've labeled out already is this 4-hour rally-based rally formation. So here we can see this good rally, this little black candle acting as the base, and then the rally going further up, taking out these previous areas of supply. So that was one of my first sort of points of interest, just to sort of leading up to this sell scenario. So we had the 4-hour rally-based rally, but then it also occurred to me that we may have, on a larger time frame, this sort of rally, reaccumulation, and then a further rally to the upside. So, and what I've not marked on right here is this 3-day rally-based rally. So moving to the 3-day time frame, what we can actually see in this area right here is a similar sort of thing. So we can see this rally in this white candle here, this bullish white candle, and then we have these two sort of doji looking candles right here acting as the base. So we have the rally, base, and then a further rally. So we had sort of a 3-day sort of point of interest, and then a 4-hour point of interest within that 3-day point of interest, if that makes sense. So that was where I really wanted to sort of see, some sort of signs of bullishness, really good signs of bullishness. Now we got into the zone, and as you can see, I was marking on, the lows and the highs and the lows, the lower highs and the lower lows. Leading into the zone and waiting till we see where that break of structure may come. Now, we did get the break of structure. We saw a break of structure here, and we see a good 4-hour institutional candle forming within this 3-day rally-based rally. So we can see this 4-hour candle, it pushes down, and then we have a really aggressive move up, which does break structure above here. But looking back at this, just slightly closer, and I think if we look at the daily time frame, we don't really look like we've broken structure. After we have reacted into the 3-day rally-based rally formation, which was here, this black box here, we get a reaction, fair enough, but we don't really break structure above. For us to break structure, we really need to be having our candlesticks closing, somewhere above this line, because that's where the previous candlestick bodies are for the daily candles. So, closure above that would then indicate to me then, okay, then we've got a good break of structure. Now, what actually happens is we don't actually break above that. We don't even go above the body of those candles right there at all. So to me, I think this was just a reaction, maybe just a retracement to the upside, so it can come back and mitigate some sort of supply levels that are higher up in this zone right here. And actually in this zone right here, you can see on the daily time frame, we've got this drop, base, drop formation, which takes out these previous areas of demand and this previous area of demand as well. So there was definitely some sort of supply forming over here. Now, at this point, I was still sort of thinking this could be a good 4-hour institutional candle. I was still looking at this as a 4-hour point of interest. So let me just move that away so it doesn't get in the way. But this 4-hour point of interest, which I've just drawn out now from this candle here, I was still looking at this and, looking at how price started to get closer to it around this point here. Never really touched it. But then we start to see, these formations here on the 4 hours, where we can see this rally base drop formation. Rally base drop, also known as a supply zone. We can see that there's a potential supply zone here. I didn't know if it was totally confirmed, but as I drew the point of interest out from there, we saw a really good mitigation of that and then a positive move away, which was a really good thing to see. So that for me was there in my mind thinking the bullish side is not looking so great. Like, yes, maybe there may be some good scalps or intraday buy scenarios within this area here for this accumulation in here. But personally, on the higher time frame, I do think that the main structure was bearish. And as we can see here, we do get a slight manipulation here. We get a buy to sell scenario here. It does break structure below these points over here quite well. And then it was all about, the drop-based drops or the supply zones that were coming in closer to my actual day of entry where I found this trade. So just looking at the day before the actual day of execution, so the Tuesday, which is this day here, my actual POI was based, you could see on the 4-hour time frame, there's a really good base drop scenario right here. So, I could have easily just used this 4-hour candle as the point of interest. But as I was narrowing down my analysis, I actually found the main point of interest which I acted upon was the 15-minute time frame. So looking at this on the 15-minute time frame, and what we can see right here is look at the demand. Look at the demand in here where, this is actually significant, higher lows or, demand zones, because we are seeing price getting pushed higher and creating further higher highs. So we have demand in this area. We have a demand zone in this area because this goes on to create a higher high up here. And then we go back and we look at this 15-minute drop-based drop. And what we can see is this drop-based drop actually is the formation that takes out this area right here for the supply, for the demand, sorry. So that drop-based drop takes out the demand there, and it also takes out this demand right in here as well. So that is a potential supply zone that we want to be looking at. It's then a case of watching what happens throughout the session. So I'm going to jump into the replay mode. Let's cut it off at the start of the day. At the start of the day right there. And I'm just going to click on the 5-minute time frame so we can follow it as we go along. And as price goes on, the start of the London session. And as I noted earlier, what are we getting in this London session? This build-up of this trendline liquidity. We've got 1, 2, 3 touches of a trend line. There's a lot of retail traders expecting certain movements like this to happen, expecting another 4th move of this trend line to then carry on going higher. That's what the retail traders are sort of expecting and, looking to trade upon. But as we see price, they're expecting that, and then as we see price progress, it gets into our supply zone before it can actually do that and manipulate or, take out any of this trend line. So, we get into our supply zone pretty well right there. And then now I'm just watching to see and waiting for these breaks of structures. So as we carry it on, there it actually comes into it again and does break higher, slightly, ever so slightly higher than this previous point here. So we can sort of class that as a manipulation of this high, reacting into supply twice and then breaking structure. And as I mark out the significant higher lows, we've got this one right in here. So we've got one significant higher low right in there. Next one is going to be right here for this one. and we have this one, and then we have this one right here as well. And the one that actually gets broken is this one. This is the significant one that actually gets broken. So we have a positive break of structure below here, which is then giving us that validity to go for these sells, to go for these sell scenarios right here. Now, zooming in on the 5 minute, what we can actually see, what I sort of pointed out earlier from the screenshots, is we have this drop, these 3 candles acting as the base, and then a drop scenario. So just using that further drop base drop, which sponsors that break of structure, which causes that break of structure to the downside, that's another very good thing to see. And then obviously we can have our sell entries based off of there, having our stop loss literally just at the high right there. And also looking at this on the 15-minute time frame, we can see this 15-minute institutional candle, this buy before sell candle, just before it breaks structure. We can also see a very clear imbalance zone within here. You can see this as a drop base drop formation, however you want to see it. There's about a million confirmations for this trade personally. So that was our sort of sell sort of scenario patterned out right there. And then we wait for it to get into entry, and that did happen very quickly. But it comes into our entry there, very good reaction away, gives a long wick, so we're pretty confident at this point. And then it starts to make its way towards that trendline liquidity, which I talked about earlier. Now, as it gets to this trendline liquidity, one or two things could happen. It could either do what you've seen it do right here and just go straight through, break structure, and carry on this impulsive move to the downside. Or what can also happen sometimes is it'll get to this point here and you'll see a fake out of it, or a manipulation of this trend line. So you'll see a sell to buy movement of that trend line right there. Now my take profit point, what I really sort of based it upon was looking at that 4-hour and 3-day sort of rally based rally which I was talking about earlier. So looking at that 3-day sort of rally based rally I was looking at right here, for me, for a long time was a very good looking demand zone. But it came into it, like we discussed earlier, came into it and it never broke structure. As you can see that on the daily time frame, it never really had enough bullishness in it to break structure to the upside and for this to be valid. So that then told me, once I knew that it wasn't really breaking structure, we had a lot of confirmation that that this whole 3-day base is not going to hold. So, and basing my TP for the actual trade, it was actually based on the 4-hour time frame. And the 4-hour time frame, you can see that there's a slight imbalance that is left open just below this this sort of rally reaccumulation rally, or rally based rally formation. Also at that imbalance fill, it's very, very close to that 150.750 quarter level, and that was my final sort of TP area right there, giving me that 1 to 19 risk to reward ratio. And as you can see, if I put the days back on and go to the hourly time frame, so you can see the actual movement pretty well. As we see, there we go, and that's the current actual price action right now. I'm still within this trade. I've actually taken about 50 to 60% profit at this 1 to 19, so 1 to 18, 19 risk to reward ratio. But this is looking quite good to hold for a bit. I'm really intrigued to see whether it's going to be able to take out this accumulation that happened in here. Because to me, this is looking like it's kind of rounding off again. You can see the round off of price happening over here, and that is a good sign of a good distribution sort of schematic happening. So it is risk free as well, so I'm not too worried at the moment. There's enough profits being taken on it already, but I will leave the rest to run sort of risk free and see if we can get any more percentage out of this trade. So there we have the full breakdown of this redistribution, or this drop based drop sort of trade scenario which I had on Gbpjpy. In the end, it was a very, very profitable, very good and satisfying trade to sort of execute. Trades like this, they really fill me with confidence in my own analysis as well. But yeah, there we go. That was the full breakdown of this trade scenario. It achieved the 1-to-19 risk to reward ratio in the end, and it's still going. I'm still holding it, so we'll see how that goes. But yeah, I hope you guys really take value from this video and learn from it. And if you did, please do like, share, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next video for more of that trading source.